Now let's get more on our top story this hour. And pressure is mounting for Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak to step down after 2 days of protests. With me in the studio is Claire Rucastle-Brown, the British investigative journalist and founder of the blog Sarawak Report, which published claims that $700 million was paid into the personal account of the Prime Minister, for which attracted you an arrest warrant. And one that also was completely refuted by the authorities, saying that you are being accused of the dissemination of false reports. We'll talk about that in a moment. Welcome, firstly. I just wanted to get an idea from you how significant you think the protests that we've seen on the streets of Malaysia over the weekend are.
I think they were very significant. I think it was actually very significant that they passed off without any violence or just upset, because there were an enormous amount of threats that there would be a counter group that would be, fighting with the peaceful demonstrators. They were called off. The police held off with their water cannon, and all in all, it was a very successful event. But it showed a huge level of public disapproval of the Prime Minister. And it was particularly significant that the former very influential Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, was also present at the march, because, of course, he is of the Prime Minister's own party.
How significant do you think it is in terms of changing the course of action for democracy in Malaysia, or perhaps even unseating Prime Minister Razak?
Well, you've got a very tense and uncertain situation, because you've got a highly discredited Prime Minister and one that has clearly lost the respect of a significant proportion of the electorate, without doubt a large proportion of his own party as well. But he's not intending to leave.
But we don't actually know that to be the case, do we, when we're looking at the figures? I mean, Malaysia as a country has a population much more than the thousands that turned out on the streets here. He's still very much in power. The claims against him regarding these corruption of $700 million being paid into his bank accounts has been refuted by the authorities. It's been thrown out of court. So in terms of any significant change on the horizon, do you believe that that is possible?
I don't think anyone in Malaysia thinks that the allegations have been successfully refuted. I don't think anyone, and to quote his own party leader of before years, who called him a liar, nobody believes his excuses about the money that went into his account.
He's still in power, though, isn't he?
Well, yes, I said he was discredited, isolated, cornered. And what he's going to fall back on, what he has already fallen back on, is strong-arm tactics. He's sacked his Deputy Prime Minister, several members of his cabinet. He sacked the Attorney General, who had drawn up a charge sheet for his arrest. He dismantled the entire task force that had been set up to investigate the scandal that he has been caught up in order to close down what was becoming very much focused on himself. Everyone in Malaysia has watched this, and everyone in Malaysia has arrived at their own conclusions. However, he has a very strong executive power, because his party has been in power for 6 decades now, and the Prime Minister is established with all the levers of authority. He's made clear he's not going to do the gentlemanly thing and step aside. He's going to fight this.
That we expect him to do, don't we, in the coming weeks and months. For you personally, you were an arrest warrant was issued for you by the Malaysian authorities there. You've not been able to go back to Malaysia since, I think you said, last year, when we were speaking a little earlier. What are your plans in terms of the campaigning that you do, and how likely is it that you will return there?
Well, I'm not going to return there for the moment. I've done most of my work from here in the UK, where I'm based. I might say that yesterday Interpol summarily rejected Malaysia's request that I be put on the red notice list and designated a terrorist. And really, this is, what has faced me is just one of the many laughable strong-arm tactics that have been taken against people who've had the temerity to criticise the Prime Minister. He's banned travel for a number of his opposition members of Parliament. I mean, he's basically saying, I've got the power and I'll do what I have to stop this investigation going ahead.
We'll see what happens. Claire, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much for joining us. Claire Rucastle-Brown there.